Hey there everyone, welcome back to another video. So today what we are going to be doing is that the 2024 May June paper 1-2 theory, we are going to be going through it entirely. So I'm going to be like looking at the question and then I'm going to try and answer it. Then we'll compare it with the marking scheme and then we'll move ahead. We'll look at how to answer these type of questions and look at the keywords and everything. Okay, so let's start. First of all, it says circle two items of internal memory. Now you know that internal memory contains RAM and ROM, right? So just circle RAM and ROM. And I think that should be correct. Let's check. Think next page. Yeah. So RAM and ROM, that is correct. Now it says complete each of the following statements which relate to health and safety issues when using ICT equipment. Now, trailing leads in a computer room can cause. Now, trailing leads can usually cause a person to trip when walking. So I think can cause tripping over wires, I guess. Then continual typing of a keyboard. That can definitely cause RSI. So I think I'll go with RSI for here. Staring at a computer screen for long periods. Now, staring means that you're going to be using your eyes, which could cause eye strain, and eye strain can also eventually lead to headache. So it can be any of them. Spilling water onto computer equipment, this can easily cause electrocution. So I think I could do that. Okay, so let's check. It says injuries from trip hazard. Okay, yeah, so trip hazard. So like you can fall and trip. So that are injuries. I think that should be accepted. RSI, correct. Eye strain, headache, electrocution. Yeah. So this is how you answer it. Now it says remotely logging into a college computer system requires two-factor authentication. Now, what is meant by two-factor authentication? So it's like when you so what like two-factor authentication does is that it protects unauthorized users from accessing the user's data or resources, and then it gives an extra layer of security. Now, whenever you see questions like OTP or authentication method and everything, you can easily write adds an extra layer of security or maybe secure socket layer when you are told to explain that. Once you just add provides an extra layer of security for like almost all of them, that gives you the extra mark over there. So I think I could go with that for here. So yeah, it's a security method. Okay, perfect. So now this two-factor authentication, right? Your like how does it's a security method. Like it will help you keep your account or your data secure. A form of security to protect the resources or data that the user can access, right? And also adds another layer of security. Exactly. Then state two ways or methods that could be part of two-factor authentication. This is just like OTP when you receive a code on your external device or a different device which you use to enter. But I think you can also use security dongle or security tokens. Yeah, I think the first one is called security token. Then you have the dongles where you have a security dongle and you can insert it into your computer, which will generate a pin or it will make sure like what it will do is that once you insert it into your computer, the computer will identify that okay, this is the right dongle, and it will give you it will allow you to access your data. Another commonly one used is biometrics, such as fingerprint. Once you enter your data, your user ID and password, sometimes they ask you to put your fingerprint to ensure that you're the right person or not. So I think you can go with any of these three. Like that's the only one I can remember. But let's check. Okay, security token given the mask theme, but I'm sure for security token, biometrics, and dongle. So GPS signal, I think, can be to verify where from where you are accessing the device from. I think should be it. Then before we move on to the next question, just give me a second. Let me check something. I'm really sorry for that. Okay, let's continue. So then it says vehicles can contain microprocessor controlled devices to improve transport safety. Okay, see something there. Then, for example, when a vehicle approaches a road, speed sign to the driver. Okay, discuss the positive and negative effects of using microprocessor controlled devices in transport safety. Now, questions like this can be quite tricky, especially when they're 6 mark and paper. I think the most or the best way to answer questions like this is to try and use critical thinking. For example, when imagine you're in a car and you're going and suddenly a pop-up comes showing an alert to the driver. What are the positive this thing of it and what are the this thing? Increase safety on the road. It could alert so okay, it has already seen that it can say it protects people on the road, prevents overspeeding, prevents any laws from being broken. I think negative could be that it could distract the driver when he's driving. Another thing could be then it might be an concern. Another one could be over reliance. You could be over reliant on it. So these are just some of the things that I have thought. Let's check. So, okay, travel becomes safer indeed. Okay, allows the driver to concentrate more on the driving. So now the driver can concentrate more on the driving instead of looking at which road signs are there. Helps to prevent human error, keeps pedestrians and other people safe, and avoids car accidents. Right, right. That makes sense. You can become over reliant on the technology, correct? Very costly to maintain or repair, makes the vehicles more expensive, could stop working, error messages could distract the driver. Exactly. Now, I think one thing I can remember from this is that maybe when I'm answering different, like another type of question, I could remember that I could use the scenario even more effectively. For example, over here, they mentioned vehicles, right? Now, if I'm adding extra technology to it, and I know that since cars that are more technologically advanced are more advanced, right? So that is something I could include. So you have to think about the scenario that's given and then answer with questions like this. Be really careful because these are 6 crucial marks that you do not want to lose. Then, one difference between a command line, just a second. Yeah. Difference between a command line interface and graphical user interface is that GUI takes up less memory. That is true. State 2 difference between a CLI and GUI. Okay, so CLI, what are some of the features? So CLI, you have to memorize the commands. You have to enter them accurately. Mistakes cannot be this thing. And it takes less processing power. It takes less processing power. It's faster than GUI. Then when we come to GUI, what do we know? It uses the WIMP system, which is the windows, icons. M is for menus, P is for pointers. It's more intuitive. Users do not need to memorize any this thing. So I think you can write some of the differences between them. So let's check. Okay, GUI, WIMP, yes, it's more user friendly. Okay, intuitive is here. Okay, yes, GUI has limited options, but it can be customized more easily, right? The user has to type in the commands, user needs to remember the commands, and the user needs to have a good knowledge of the command. So CLI is basically more about like the command thing. Just like remember that you're typing in the command, you have to remember the command and you should know the command. So like it's more about the commands. Well, GUI is more about like people that do not know these commands, how are they going to use the systems and everything. So that's what GUI is more about. State two other types of user interface. This is really easy. Dialogue based and then gesture based. There you go. Then what is meant by electronic conferencing? Now I'm sure you know about web conferencing, audio conferencing, and video conferencing. So I feel like conferencing is a mixture of all of them. So it's a communication method that you can use to communicate with people over the internet. I think it includes video, audio, and yeah, I think so. Used to communicate with two or more than two people. Two, I think you can add that. Let's check. Okay, it's a communication system, structured discussion. Okay, that's really important. A structured discussion between two or more people carried out virtually online over the internet involves video, web, and audio. Okay, so it's like you are using the video and audio on the web, right? Then state giving a reason for your choice, the hardware required to set up an electronic conference. Okay, this should be quite easy. So what you're going to do is read the question. It says state, so I'm going to state the hardware that I want and then give a reason as well. So first thing I notice is that since it's going to be done on the web, I'll need to connect to the internet. So I'll use a router to connect to the internet. I could use a microphone to speak in the conference, a speaker to hear what others are saying, a monitor to see the output or see what is happening in the conference. Um, I don't know if projector would be allowed, a projector to project the meeting or the conference. But yeah, I think for 4 marks, that should be more than enough. It's basically you giving two hardware and then explaining them for the 4 marks. But I would always prefer, if you know a third one, write down the third one, okay? Because over here, they didn't mention how many you have to state, which is a good thing. Marks for any device and 2 marks for linked reason. Okay, so computer or smartphone to connect the peripherals to the conference. Yeah. Camera to capture moving images of the conference. Monitors to look at the participants. Microphone to capture the audio of the conference. Speakers to listen to others in the conference. Yeah. Router to connect to the internet. So I guess projector isn't there, but for question like this, you don't even need to talk about projector when you have the simpler ones like camera, monitor, microphone, speaker, and router. Then we go to, okay, another scenario is given here for us, right? Now, they could have easily just told us, describe the benefits and drawbacks of using computer system rather than smartphones. But they have specifically given us a scenario over here where they said this purpose. So make sure that the answer that you give over here is somehow linked to what they are saying over here. Okay, so let's see. A college principal has decided that students can use mobile devices to take notes in lessons. Okay. Some students use laptop computers. Wow. The benefits and drawbacks of using laptop computers. If I am in a classroom and I'm taking notes and someone is beside me using a mobile phone and I'm using a laptop, what are some of the advantages that I have? Instantly, I can notice that I have a bigger screen so I can see my contents faster. I have a bigger keyboard so I can type in faster and I'll have less data entry compared to the one typing on his touch screen beside me. Then what else could there be? Hmm. Laptops, have more system specifications and um, more applications are compatible with laptops. I don't know if that's really a point that you could use here, but I think you could try. The disadvantages could be that laptops are heavy and then they are not as portable as smartphones, right? So they are less portable. They have a larger footprint as well. Then, okay, using smartphones, you can easily take pictures of the notes instead of even having to write them down, which you cannot do in computers. Um, Smartphones can also connect to the internet, which could be useful, I guess. So I think I have more than 4 points, so I could go with that. So benefits, okay, larger screen, easier to read. Software is more compatible with other devices, right? More ports on a device, therefore easy to transfer device data. Your mobile phone has only the charging port, but the laptop has the USB port and the other port so that you can easily transfer data. Has a separate keyboard, therefore less errors on a data entry. Has a large or separate keyboard, making it easier to type in the data. Drawbacks is it's less portable, difficult to take pictures. Okay, laptops need a flat surface to work on. The smartphones do not, right? Larger footprint and smartphones can also use 4G, 5G or mobile data. Then bringing laptop computers into the college, the network manager has decided to produce a paper-based certificate for students to prove their laptop computer is safe to use. Describe the main line of this certificate. Okay. Now, I think question like this, people can easily be confused and end up writing that name of the person, admission number, signature, date, and all that, that are not the design of the certificate. Design of the certificate includes more like the font style that used, the font size used so that it's clearly visible. You are using an organized and formal layout. You have efficiently used the white space provided, um, contrasting colors to make sure all the data is clearly visible. These are the features that you need to consider for the design. So in fact, I think I've even mentioned before more than that. That read good, yeah, exactly. Good use of white space so that data fills the certificate. So now the points I mentioned plus the points from the scenario. Now I mentioned good use of white space, but I didn't mention so that data fills the certificate. Now this is also a bit important so that you have to combine the scenario with what you already know to give the answer. Enough space in which the answers in the text box, good use of colors, yeah, use organized layout to make it easier to read. All information needs to be clearly visible. Use of tick boxes to make data entry quicker or easier. Okay, let me just drink water. Give me a second. Okay. Virtual reality and augmented reality. Explain the differences. So over here, they have given us the key term explain. Over here, it's more of discuss, right? So you need to look carefully on what the keyword is given. So, what does virtual reality do? So, I know that virtual reality is a computer generated or artificial generated world where a user is completely immersed in, whereas augmented reality is when the layers are overlapped on the screen and it combines the real world with the virtual world. So I think those are some of the differences I could write. Oh, one more thing you can do is that virtual reality, you need to use a headset, right? But for an augmented reality, you can easily, uh, yeah, sorry, you can easily, how do I say? You can easily use your smartphone. Yeah, you can easily use your smartphone to use it. Let me check. Okay, computer generated correct requires headset only enhances the fictional reality. Yeah, can be accessed exactly, uses both virtual and real, and creates a new layer. Okay, yeah. So overlapping is basically it creates a new layer on top of the existing reality. So you have your existing reality and you're adding layers on top, you're overlapping them. That's augmented reality. Discuss the impact of augmented reality on everyday life. Okay, now this is a really good question. Why? Or because it came in the previous paper. Now this is 041712. I remember and same question which was on describe the impact of augmented reality. No, not augmented, virtual reality on everyday life. So now you see that this is how they're easily shifting. So at first they use virtual, now they're using augmented reality. So maybe for the May-June paper that we are writing, they could come up with something like discuss the impact of maybe virtual reality again, but I'm not so sure that they can bring the immersive technology. Yeah, I have a feeling they can bring this discuss of immersive technology, or in fact, or artificial intelligence on everyday life. I have a big feeling something like this could come, though it's just a prediction, not entirely true, or I'm not entirely factual that will come or 100% accuracy. So, those watching, if you have made it so far, why don't you comment on the video and give your answer for this one, and I'll make sure to mark it. So this is the question one on immersive technology and artificial intelligence is the question two. Let me see how many of you reached so far and actually watched the video. Because if you did, trust me, you're a real OG. The impact on. Now the impact on everyday life. So what you're going to answer, or the way you're going to answer, is that it has to connect with what you use it in everyday life. For example, over here, I feel like if I use the maximum to explain it will be better. Yeah, over here it says it can help people connect with others to improve communication skills, Overlays information on the display, therefore leads to safer activities, provides more efficient, engaging shopping experience as user can look at the product and information can be displayed. So basically, like, let's say you walk into the mall, right? Instead of you having someone walk with you and explain what the products and everything are, you can just quickly take out the app, scan the product over there, and then it will give you all the information. Or in walking, it will pop up, like it will show you the information of it. Like many of us know Iron Man, right? Let me see if I can show it here. Iron Man, uh, he uses this thing, uh, augmented this thing. No, yeah, of course, I'm not giving the impact of that on everyday life, but I'm just showing you this thing. So let's set display. Yeah, think this. Yeah, you see, this is how he uses augmented reality. He has layered this on his this thing on his real world display. Let me see if I can get it somewhere else. No, but yeah, I think this one works. Huge inspiration for all of us Iron Man, right? Okay, coming back electronically so you can see what the clothes look like on you before buying. You can also say that users can try on different hairstyles before going to stick before buying one. So these are all everyday impact that you can write. Used in walkthrough system to give a greater experience for users. Using it in interactive gaming could allow people to have a better experience of the game. For example, Pokemon Go, which was really trending. I don't know how trending it is now, but it gives an immersive and better experience of the game. As as it is used in gaming, it could lead to okay, now these were all like the advantages you can see. So advantages or good side. These are now the bad side that you can mention. So because they said discuss, when you're discussing something, you look at both the good and the bad. So you can write all the good and all the bad over here because it's a discuss question. I think it's a 6 mark question, yeah. Trust me, I hate 6 mark questions so much, but you have to work with it because you have no choice. As it's used in gaming, it could lead to safety issues as the player could be immersed in the game, could damage social relationships or skills as it removes face-to-face interaction. On-screen information could be distracting, allows us to interact with the various characters or situations in real time, but not necessarily the real life. So you could have, let's say, dinosaurs walking on your phone as you pointed over there. You see them walking on the ground through your phone, but in reality, it's not even happening. I don't know if you could visualize what I was trying to show, but yes. So that's how you answer these questions. Explain the following components of an expert system. Expert system. Trust me, focus on it a lot because nowadays, if you open any paper, the recent papers at least, you would see expert system coming almost every time because expert system is more or less like the future. So nowadays, IGs is focusing on what the future is, on AI, immersive technology, and everything. So make sure you know things like this as well. Okay. So the user interface. Now the user interface is like when you open an app, right? What you're interacting with, or when you open, yeah, or website, what you're interacting with. So this is where the questions will be displayed. This is where the answers will be given. This is where the explanation and diagnosis would be given. And user interface. What else do I need to know? This is where the user will answer in yes, Y, or N, or yes or no form. I think this is something I could say. The user is a screen into which the user types the answer, the questions for the user to answer, outputs the results, interacts with the user, allows the expert to enter information into the knowledge base. Okay, this is new. This is something I also haven't read. But the user interface allows the expert to enter information into the knowledge base. Okay, that's interesting. Then knowledge base. Knowledge base is a collection of facts and information inputted by experts from various fields or experts in that those particular experts in particular fields. And I think rules base is also part of the knowledge base. And since I'm explaining, these are all the details that I know that I could put in there. So data, yeah, trust me, right? Database. I don't know how I forgot to mention database, but it's a database of information, collection of facts or information yeah, populated or inputted by experts and contains the rules. There you go. Cars have sensors at the front and rear of the window to detect obstacles. Describe how the data detects, how the sensor detects an obstacle and sends the data to the microprocessor when parking the car. Now, this is not asking how the microprocessor controls how the car is parked. It's just asking how data that is detected by the sensor is sent to the microprocessor to be processed. Now, I know that the sensor will first detect changes. It will scan the surroundings. I guess it will scan the surroundings to see how far the obstacle is. It will be continuously sending the data to the microprocessor, and because it's a sensor, it will collect data in the analog form and send it to the computer. So I'll need an analog to digital converter, ADC, to understand what the data is or to make sure the computer can process it, right? So data are sent back to the sensor. Sensors can continually, yeah, it's a continuous process. The sensor captures the reflected data, uh, captures analog data and is sent back to the analog to digital converter. There you go. Okay, almost done, guys. Let's push, and then get it done. A company with many branches is implementing a new system. The manager is planning to implement the new system either by pilot changeover or parallel running. Contrast pilot changeover and parallel running. Now, oftentimes, what they bring is compare and contrast. Okay, now there's a difference between compare and contrast and just contrast. When they say compare and contrast, you have to give similarities and the differences. But over here, since they have mentioned only contrast, I can simply go ahead and write the differences that I know between them and outside this, okay? But if I were to give similarities to, I could say that they are both methods of implementation. They both transfer all the data from the old system to the new system eventually. So these are some of the similarities that I have. Coming to contrast, okay, uh, let's say pilot changeover and parallel running. So in pilot changeover, we know that the new system is first implemented in one branch, tested, and then, if successful, continued in other branches. But what happens with parallel running is that the old system and the new system are both running continuously. So that is advantages and disadvantages, because when you're running both the system, even if the new system fails, you have your old system that still has the data. You're running both the system, and it's expensive because you have to pay the staff extra to put data in both of them, right? Now it's slower. It's slower because now you are inputting data in both of them. It's slower, but it's safer because you get extra time or more time to train workers. When you come to pilot changeover, if uh, if the system implementation is not successful in one branch, then it only affects one branch and not the entire organization. So for 5 marks, I think whatever I said can easily get me the. I didn't talk much about Pilot, but I think I did talk about, I didn't talk much about Pilot, but so both systems operate together until the old system is removed. Staff can be trained over the system gradually, more time consuming. If new system fails, old system is there, expensive as two sets of staff are needed and more expensive as two systems. Now I'm actually a bit shocked. Why? Because it's a 5 mark question and they are saying five, okay, five from both of them. I thought it said five from here or five from here. Yeah, makes sense there. So in pilot changeover, each branch is implemented separately. It is so crucial that you mention branch because pilot changeover happens only in organizations. So each branch changing over only uses the new system. So once it's changed or once it's implemented into the new system, that branch will not be affected at a time. If there's an error in the branch, error in the system, only one branch is affected. Staff can be trained in the branch being implemented. Changeover is easier to manage. Correct. Uh, When the system is implemented, technical documentation is produced. State three components that could be included in the technical documentation. Now, know at least five from technical and five from user documentation, and like three that are common in both of them. Because trust me, there are chances this can also come in the major paper. Maybe it can come. So three components that I can do, I feel like I know input format, output format, program language, system listing or system formats, one of them. I think program flowchart, file structures, system structures, then purpose of the system, program language if I haven't mentioned it. Yeah, purpose, limitations, program listing, language, flowchart, algorithm, oh, validations, if I haven't mentioned, there you go, validation, sample runs, input, output, formats, variable structure, file structures, hardware, software, flowcharts. Now, I think, yeah, that should be it. What is meant by surfing? So shoulder surfing is like when you're sitting in a, let's say in a metro and you're entering the password to your phone and someone beside you is secretly trying to see and memorize the password that you have entered so that he can later use it to, I don't know, God knows what, yeah, he's memorizing it from. But that's what you mean by surfing. Now, it's like looking over the shoulder to secretly look at the password and memorize it, right? But not necessarily over shoulder, because when people are talking about, let's say someone is telling someone the password and you're right beside them, you're listening to what they're saying and memorizing it, that's technically still surfing. So watching or spying on the user entering the password on the to memorize the password. Okay, people can eavesdrop when personal data is being exchanged. Exactly. So any two from them, and you should get your mark. Two security improvements that could be used to reduce shoulder surfing. Uh, Shoulder surfing is because you're manually typing the password, right? So you can just go for biometrics. Use I don't know if contactless or contactless. How I said biometrics? I think I said so biometrics could be one. Then use contactless cards or okay.